And I'm super excited to host Manish Giri, co-founder of Inkers Tech. I had the pleasure to meet him in person at a AI panel discussion in Bangalore where he shared amazing insights about the product he's building, his journey in the space. So I thought it would be great to have you on the show. So thanks a lot for your time, Manish.
Thanks, Mayur. Thanks for having me. Great to get in touch again.
Yeah. So, Manish, for folks who might not know you, after your bachelor's, still finding inkers, and what are the top three career highlights for you?
No, yeah, sure. So I come from mathematics and computing background. I'm 2008 batch, IT Kharagpur. Again, so I have predominantly, even after graduation, not done stuff what I graduated in. After graduation, I worked in oil field services in a company called Schlumberger. Again, simply because it was an array of exposure into engineering and extreme environments. I loved, working outdoors, and so that was spanned over 6 years across 20 different countries. Somewhere around 2014 is when I, joined hands with my batchmate Rohan, who is also from KGP, to work on tablets and two-in-ones. There was a company called Motioning Design Labs, wherein we were developing tablets and two-in-ones, and we sold again across the globe. We came out of that venture in 2016 and started Incus. We always were keen on building new products, and I mean, 2012 was an inflection point for a lot of applications, specifically around machine learning. And around 2016, we started seeing some very promising results. We all got very excited, right? I mean, our exposure to this domain was limited to a few chapters on neural networks, a few, electives which we took on college. And then it was a very exciting domain which was coming up. So we ventured into it, looking to go ahead and build exciting products and services. We started Incas, early 2016, and it has been an 8 years of a sort of a roller coaster ride where we started from a pure hardware product company to becoming a services entity. Then we got exposed to various different verticals for AI services. We ventured into again AI products also in retail space. Went through the whole COVID life cycle of uh, um, uh, shutting down a product and then starting off fresh again. And then we came into real estate, right? So that's post COVID that we saw real estate as a problem. So again, neither me or Rohan come from the core architectural civil background. So for us, it was not very obvious, but it was a very, very, interesting problem which we wanted to look and solve. And that's where observance was born, which is the product which is now being provided as a complete AI powered project management tool for our clients. And it's been 2.5 years since the product is live, and we are seeing some good promising outcomes now.
Amazing. And man, like 8 years and still with the passion you have, it's very commendable. I'm just curious to know, so you have gone through the journey of pivots, and
Yes.
sometimes when you are in the business, you might not have enough data. Is this a decision which is sometimes times it's not the correct time, and maybe a year later, or if you just keep going in the direction, and so at what time should you pivot and what time you should okay, let's put more effort, let's just be patient.
No, very good points there, Mayur. So you, as you rightly said, is the product right now? So with a few products which we are building early on in Incurs, one was a personalized device, very similar to what Alexa would be, but imagine Alexa with the ability to fly as well, right? I mean, that's the sort of product which we are venturing for, and we had a prototype ready. But again, around 2017 timeframe or 2018 timeframe, it was very early for the market. Whatever tests we did, consumers were still not open to allowing, their conversations or their data to be captured on an open platform to be used at any level, right? So it was very early. But while we were building that solution, we ended up building various small use cases which became very useful. So we decided to pivot and use those use cases in terms of services. Um, when we were doing services, we realized that if we had to become a pure play AI services company, we had to grow horizontally too big, right? We would have to have multiple engineers across board. And in 2018-19 was the time when you still didn't have a lot of machine learning engineers who you could just simply hire and who were good to go. So we started training engineers also, right? On weekends we used to have meetups where we started giving free classes as well, and we started training a lot of engineers as well, so that they would be able to join us in. So again, there was a decision which, as a company, we had to take, that whether do we keep scaling up as a services entity, or we decide to build a product. So while we were, doing these services, we saw few use cases where a product could be made, right? And retail was one of them, where we found that, okay, the offline retail does not have a digital footprint of its consumer, right? Unlike the online retail, where they have a huge digital footprint of their consumers, where if you go on Amazon, you search anything, you go on Flipkart or any other platform, whatever you're searching, it becomes a repository for them to come and market you similar sort of a product lines and then have a higher conversion. Offline retail does not have this data. So out of 1,000 people who enter inside, let's say only 100 end up buying, and you are able to interact with them, but the 900 are lost, right?
Mhm.
So that was the idea what we started with, where we wanted to create some sort of a digital footprint, even for people, without being intrusive. So we did not want to go ahead and necessarily have their name or gender or anything else, but just have data of what they are looking at, what are they interacting with, how long is it taking to purchase, so on and so forth. And it did very well. So this I mean, I won't say it was a pivot, but it was a natural progression toward a product. Uh, but again, COVID hit, right? So when COVID hit, we had the offline retail literally shutting shops towards, any new technology, and that was again a phase where we had to roll back and probably say that whether do we, keep holding on to what we have in retail, or we go ahead and start something new. So that was our second pivot. So we have literally pivoted twice: one from product into services, then from services into real estate. And at both points, the decision was more driven by market conditions and the way the response for our solution is, rather than internally. A lot of time, entrepreneurs, when they build something, right, we get in love with it. We
Yeah.
feel that it's something, amazing, and it should be selling. It should be, everybody should be paying for it. Everybody should be absolutely, I mean, but it might not be the case. And that is where, while building products, we should be very closely interacting with the industry. And within a product life cycle also, you will see a lot of product pivots as well. The way the product is taking shape, it will keep pivoting to places where it keeps finding right fit, right? And for many, services or product company which are software based, that's the recommendation I would give, to not develop products in silos. If you start, even if you are experienced and from the domain, you might end up building something which is overfit for your problem which is there in your mind, and it might not be, you might not be able to just generalize it across board, right? So that's the learning, right? I mean, be open to feedback from the market. If market says no, this is not good, that's the right time to, pivot, and be open to interact with the industry and get feedback while you're developing.
God, I see. Like sometimes in the VC fundraising meeting, they ask what unique domain insights you have, which your competitor doesn't have. And like I just got curious, like when you were making pivot to a new industry, how would you develop empathy towards that industry, deeper discussion and domain insights, so you just don't get surface level issues, but
No, good question. So my couple of things on the VC front, right? I mean, if VCs knew what needs to be built, there's no need of a startup, right? The reason they ask what's different is because they don't know,
yes,
not because they know.
yeah,
They actually don't know. The most of the time they are comparing things, right? What they do is compare a certain technology or an asset which has been successful vis-a-vis what is being done right now, or a story which was successful, and they try to find parallels, right? Because if a story has worked in the past, there is high chance of it working again. They absolutely have no clue that okay, if you build this, it will be $1 billion story. No, I mean, that's maybe few of them do, but most of them don't. They're, for them, it's more of a judgment call on what is actually the best fit, and they are comparing, and they are looking at you for answers. And from a industry outsider perspective, if I have to talk about, actually trying to collect this data, the way we ventured about it is try and first seek out all our friends. I mean, being from IIT Kharagpur has a very strong alumni network, right? So we
Yes.
leveraged that alumni network. We found out which of our friends were working in PMC companies, in architectural companies, who were working on real estate firms. We tried to speak to them, and we got a bit of direction from our advisors, from our investors who were early investors. We spent good 6 months visiting sites, collecting small snippets of data, talking to site supervisors, project managers in Bangalore, in Mumbai, in Delhi, because even in India, every single city from a real estate perspective is different. The way it operates, the way the dynamics on a site will operate. So we try to collect all that data, and we try to see that what are they fighting for? Where are their quarrels? Where are they actually, getting stuck? What is actually not helping them move forward, right? And that all got validated with all the feedback which we got from people who we knew, who were close to us in our network, right? And what that helped us is that it suddenly started building a form of a product in our mind. Okay, if we are going to do something like this, then it's going to be the best fit for most of them, right? Right now, I know that most of the time somebody might have a 2D plan, somebody might have a BIM, but what's actually getting built on the site, most of them, they're just arguing about that. Hey, these components are not there. Where did they come from? There is a deviation, and they are not able to align. Also, because there is no central data repository, so it starts from basics all the way till complex elements on a site. So instead of being an outsider, we went inside and we exposed ourselves to various different sites. The first 6 months was only exposing ourselves. Then we started making the product and piloting parallelly across various, projects. 10 different projects we were piloting, taking feedback. We were making feature, taking feedback, making feature, taking feedback. And that's how, over a period of 1 year, 1.5 years, we had a very decent shape in terms of how the product looks like. A simple thing on data collection, right? Because our solution relies on digitizing the construction site as it. So the simple aspect of actually collecting the data, nobody wanted to, spend even half hour, even if it's 1 hour specifically holding any gadget and walking around the site. So we realized that if we go ahead and give this as a function, although from a VC perspective, the way they will look at it, how are you going to scale? But it's not from a VC perspective where we are purely looking at from a client perspective. How is the client going to adopt at this point? What is going to help the client go ahead and use it without any glitches? So if somebody is taking care end to end and giving me something to consume with actionable output for me, that's what's going to help me. Don't tell me all the juggernauts. That's all good to know for a discussion. So much happening on the cloud, a lot of machine learning pipeline, automatically detecting this, doing that. Give me a summary actionable item, even if 2 times a week, which something all of us can agree on. We are good to go. Let's move, right? I mean, that's what we were able to realize. So that forced us to create a product as a service end to end, right? So because we just didn't want to create a product and hand it over, we basically build a service around it as well.
That's a very unique way because product and service, because some of the times a lot of transaction in our industry is like requires human touch and the final decision making and like just for the support and everything. So also from what I know is services also helps a good cash flow for the product development and gets the whole transaction. I was curious, like, what are some surprising truths which you learned about the industries? Like, this should be an obvious. This is like a decade. Um,
And again, I wouldn't say there was any surprises. So the fact that you're saying surprising, I wouldn't say there was any surprises. We knew that there is always going to be a degree of, you know, so if I break it down into basics, generally this industry, from a design and planning phase, everything is digital in nature, and that too maybe it has become digital maybe 10 years, 15 years back before architects were just making it on huge A4 sheets. Now that it has become digital, the people who actually work in the field are working in the real world, right? Although you have planned digitally, you have designed digitally, and it is the job of the engineer on site to now sort of take that all that stuff what you want to build and build it actually, and that is a very tough job. So that is actually the toughest job, the contractor's job of actually taking it and doing it as it is. So definitely sympathy towards that they have to execute something, or else if something was to be digitally built itself, and that's where maybe 3D printing and all of this is actually coming up, and there is scope for that as well, because if you're doing that, then you're taking away a lot of this complication as well. But because you're building in the real world, and the number of touch points, so while you have the digital design, the number of touch points are low. When I say touch points, the number of human hands which are actually interacting with that could be limited to architects, planners, finance department, maybe procurement. All in all, maybe 50, 100 people. If you combine, I mean, if it's a 1 million square feet, let's say 100,000 or 1,000 crore project. But the moment it comes to site, the number of touch points who actually go ahead and touch the site starts running into 4,000, 5,000 people, right? From contractors to people working on site to your PMC to everybody else, right? Now imagine this gap. And because every human will create a delta in terms of the difference in opinion, the way they see things, the way they perceive things, and all of this actually adds up to chaos.
mm,
All of this adds up to chaos on the site. Although the whole role of having PMC is to manage this chaos, but even after that, there is high chance of errors seeping in or issues coming up and optimal, application not being delivered. Today on site, civil engineer doesn't do civil engineering work. Most of the time, he is just walking on the site doing quality work. He's not doing any engineering work as such. So again, people are not utilized for their core competencies, right? So there was a need of taking away all of this unnecessary repetitive work and provide them with a solution which becomes like a digital truth for them, which for everybody is the same. The digital truth does not change, right? I mean, if you have a million square feet, 50,000 square feet of basement coming across 12 floors, high rise building, there's so many components, and you have the data digitally present. Everybody sees the same stuff. There is no confusion. There could be 50 members doing the same thing. So the delta confusion, which is there, goes away when we
mm,
are consuming the same data. And what we found is even that was able to take away, 30 minutes of extra workload off from everybody's shoulder, or extra sort of discussion. The moment you take away extra time from them, that becomes productive, right? So project which is 24 months or 36 months, small changes like this is actually helping now project getting completed on time, right? um, uh, I mean, in general, if you see construction industry is probably the second most least penetrated as far as tech goes, right? I mean, maybe agriculture is the only one below it, but it is the biggest also. I mean, if you look at globally, and it's growing, but the talent pool is less.
mm,
Now, if the talent pool is less and not actually doing engineering work, you require technology to come and help you to scale at the way you're scaling right now. So it's a must. I mean, it's absolutely a must have at most of the sites. So that's what we have seen in terms of progression on the site side.
I see. So, like information and communication loss through aggregation on the
Yeah,
platform, and also solving the expertise gap by productivizing like what they do. So it's a good.
yeah,
Uh, I'm curious, like there have been discussions in the field that it's difficult to train AI model in the domain because we don't have quality data sets. And
yeah.
uh, so what are your thoughts on like what were the bottlenecks in building the tech, and if you can share insights?
See, we were very lucky because our exposure to various different forms of machine learning use cases started very early, right? Right from so facial recognition, object detection, image segmentation, depth. I mean, we were doing depth with monocular lenses for our monocopter drone in 2016, right? I mean, although it was not accurate, but it was to a great extent very good. So we had a huge exposure in on how where to get data which is useful and how to use learning from a separate style of data sets into a different type of a domain, right, when you have a trained model. So what we did was we had to definitely generate our own data. So the first 6 months where we were visiting sites, we are also collecting a lot of data. We are also collecting raw point clouds, we are collecting raw images, we are collecting raw thermal inputs, we are also collecting a lot of data. And we started sort of auto tuning our use cases based on whatever we had, modeled from the past. And we were able to do that over a period of close to 1.5, 2 years. So our clients who we were piloting with initially were very patient with us, right? Because they gave us that sort of a breathing time to go ahead and do this. Especially Colliers, who we partnered with early on, helped us provide this array of sites and were patient while we were building these small units. We ended up collecting close to 500,000 defect data set. We collected close to 5,000 point cloud scans. We collected multiple floor plans from all the sites, redacted, but all of this was from the from site. But for a lot of use cases we need not have that high degree of data set to be generated. For a lot of use cases, even small sets of data were very, very useful, where we had a simple, very basic machine learning pipeline going for us. And that actually sort of started, shaping up the product. But data definitely, initially, it's not somewhere, I mean, as far as construction data set goes, you cannot find it easily available and specific to your needs. You are going to have to, spend a bit of time on that to sort of generate that data set.
So Manish, it's great that you like your previous product helped and you were quite early in like leveraging. And I'm wondering like if there is a firm or another founder and who's like, okay, I want to make a useful, because making a model is one, making a model reliable is also getting that accuracy, because there's so much noise and uh,
Yes.
maybe the camera is not high resolution, then that adds another, even though your model is great. So how much budget, it might be a very contextual question, but I'm just thinking if someone like a construction firm wants to invest in build their own AI model, what should be a strategy and like budget allocation and stuff?
So I think when they are looking at doing that, now let's say they are looking at, I mean, again, AI model, again, various different use cases, right? I mean, if they're looking for language models or something in computer vision or something purely on sensor based, depends on what they're venturing into. First of all, the approach they should have is to get a team in house first who understands this domain, right? Or somebody who understands that where today technology is, right? Because a lot of what they would like to build from scratch, you might already have, you can leverage out there. I mean, there is already, solutions which you can immediately leverage and then build on top of it. So you need to have in-house expertise to understand, somebody who actually understands. So from a construction perspective, what all papers are there, what's the latest which is happening, how sensor fusion is actually working in this domain. Once you get to that level, you need to then look at your own problem statement. That what, how big is it? So then there will be two pieces of it. One would be to collect enough data set to test out, right? And that data set could be as small as, let's say, 500 to 1,000 units. If you are able to identify a right model which is a very similar use case to what you have right now. I mean, let's say you're doing something on computer vision side and you have pure object detection use cases. You look at some latest YOLO models, you start with that,
Mm.
right? And then you start with a very small data set, get it properly annotated, properly tagged, train on that, and start testing it out. If you see some results which are promising for you and the direction where you get a feedback, yes, this could be useful, then you start generating a higher degree of data set. Now,
Mm.
here, there, as I said, two pieces, right? Getting and curating the data sets internally, what do you have, and then getting the training done. I think trainings are not, I mean, they are getting cheaper and cheaper day by day. Even the cloud costs are going down. A lot of people should leverage cloud instead of having to spend on heavy machines, on premise. They should not be worried about data security. Clouds are very secure. I mean, I mean, people who have the world's data are on cloud,
Mm.
and who could do a lot with that data are also on cloud, right? I mean, real estate guys don't have something which is, more valuable than what, a lot of other guys in US. I will not take names, but right, I mean, a lot of our data is already digitally present on cloud, which is there. So they should not be worried about data security. Data security is actually, very well defined, whether it is on AWS, GCP, Azure, they can have their own data blankets, and then go ahead and train it. If they have to budget something, I think end to end, if they keep even a budget of $10,000
Mm.
to do a small pilot, it's good enough to spend on training and test out. I think anywhere between $10,000 to $20,000 should give them a good, decent feeling on whether this is going to work or not, and whether it's going to help on spending more. From here to building a product is a very different life cycle again.
Mm.
Because as you said, that having something which is around 85-90% to actually, sorry, 85 to 80% range, to actually taking it to 90%, 95% range, where reliability is high and humans can actually go ahead and trust and then start using, that is where the highest investment lies. That's where you have to, look at very, very minute. Then you have to start looking at whether the camera is a very focal auto iris camera or not. You have to
Mm.
start looking at all of those elements also, because then all your boundary conditions starts impacting, right? The moment there will be light change on site, something else, everything will go for a
Yeah.
toss. The moment an angle changes, everything goes for a toss. Which brand of camera are you going to use? Which brand of sensor is deployed? So you'll have to start looking deeply, right? So for that phase, maybe they should keep anywhere between 90 to $100,000, right? So net by spending this much in Indian INR would be around 1 crore. So initially we said it was somewhere around 10 lakhs, and then another crore to start building no product into a decent form. That should be a good enough budget if they have an internal team.
Love the numbers. I actually, that's what I was looking for, because I don't know, like sometimes machine learning engineer itself cost very, like if they're paying 50 lakhs a salary for a machine learning engineer, and like, okay, how much budget we should allocate for an
So
AI?
Mayur, I think maybe, I mean, the way things are going in the next 5 to 6 months, a lot of coding, jobs are going to get split between. I mean, there you will have only a few very good coders who will be doing most of the work. So the middle and the lower level will actually not have a lot to do. And I mean, maybe it is good for enterprises because a lot of small things they can test out, they can build by themselves on a simple command line.
Yes. That's a great point. Actually, I personally also feel like there's a fusion, like design engineer roles, like someone who can like, okay, use Figma and Midjourney and then use like cursor to get the website and stuff. So it's, the roles will be fused, but also people might pay premium because those are the people who have multiple domains knowledge. But it's gonna be
It's
in,
going to be very interesting and exciting. Yes.
yeah. I'm gonna take one question from the, so got a great feedback from Gavin. He has amazing content on BIM and I've been following it. So Chaitanya has a question. How do you price pilots when you're also discovering and building a product?
So again, it's a function of, how the startup is, sort of aligned, but we didn't price the pilots. So that's because that's the moment you price a pilot, that's also for an Indian real estate, and I'm only talking from a perspective of an Indian real estate company. The way we did it was we said that, for the first 2 months, we are not going to charge anything.
Mm.
See, again, you see, when you're doing giving a SaaS to real estate, their product is a 36 months life cycle, right? And initially, before or while you're doing the pilot, you're asking them to actually spend on product development. More or less, that's what you're asking, that you spend on product development, then you pay me once the product is ready, which is not entirely fair. So initially, when you're doing pilots, I mean, that's what you'll have to do for the first 5 clients, I would say, before you get the good brands, actually saying or giving a feedback. Suddenly you have the big guys, DLFs, Lodhas, Shapuji, Prestige, everybody as your client, then you can easily give a reference, sir, please talk to this site supervisor, please talk, and that helps them. But initially, when you're doing pilots, you should give it for a 2 to 3 months period without any cost. And that's something which you should bear as your own marketing. I mean, that's your marketing money. That's how you should look at it. I mean, that's what everybody has to do. Even Apple does it. Apple can't sell until it is markets. There is a certain margin which is markets into, and it markets before it brings in the product, right? So even you have to market yourself. The way you market is to go ahead and provide and give them the confidence that don't worry, there is no billing. Use it for 2 to 3 months. Make sure that there is a very high degree of usage while the pilot is happening. That is something which you should be very, very careful about, and that requires account management. So you should have people who are talking very closely with the product manager, with the product team on site. And I'm only talking from while construction is happening phase, right? Because you need to be in touch with the contractors, the civil engineers, show them, okay, this is how you can use, this is what you can get as an input, start creating use cases for them. Let them use for 2 3 months, and then you slightly mold them, then you bring it across the price. That's what we did. Because the moment, I mean, I know it's different in Middle East and US. You can ask for pricing because you do get paid for pilots also. But in India, we found it difficult to start pricing the pilots. We had to give it at no cost. But the way we saw it is like over a 24-month project, we are giving 2 months. So it's almost like we are sort of giving a 5% or a 10% sort of a marketing budget to acquire the client.
Yeah, but one of the thing I have felt from speaking personal experience, sometimes price is a validation of the problem, not the actual money. Because, like for example, you could say, okay, this is a solution. There's high incentive. Okay, if it's free, yeah, make it. Help. But if the willingness to pay, or are you gonna pay $1,000 right now or for the pilot? But any thoughts on that?
No, I agree, Mayor, but I always try to put myself in the shoe of my client at that point of time.
Yes.
If I put myself in his shoe, he has 1,000 problems. And the person who actually got to use my product is the project manager on site and the architect on site, right? They have already got 100 problems in their head. When they're coming to site, they're already, thinking about when I was, I'll split it down even further, right? When I was an engineer in Schlumberger, there was a certain we used to I was in wireline, which is like exploring, oils through huge drilling, rigs. And there was a software, and then we used to use it in Linux. And then they migrated to Windows, and there was a new product which came in. And I didn't like it at all because I had to migrate myself
Mm.
from what I was using to something new. And even I was resistant, although it was something which was going to save a lot of time. So any new technology which tries to come, right? By default, human nature is to resist because you don't want to spend extra time and effort to adapt to it. Now,
Mm.
on top of it, if I put money as a barrier also, then it
Yes.
becomes more difficult for that person to take a decision in my favor. Much easier for him to say, "Come next week, Manish, I'm
Correct.
busy. Come after 15 days." I don't want this 15 days, 10 days delay. I want him to start today. The only way I can make him start today is to take out some load out of this decision making because he's already loaded with work. Then I'm asking him to consume something new. You have to using a platform means he has to log in, see, read, get that
Mm.
data in some form, act on it. That's actually an additional work, at least until something else comes out of his workload. right? So that's the way I saw it, and as a team we decided that we'll make it easier for them to adopt, because any technology, and for the construction industry, technology is new, very very new. I mean, even in US BIM penetration is very low. You forget about India, right? So it's not just I should take India's reference. Even in US, it's very low. So technology penetration in construction is in general is very very low, simply because of these two reasons. One is their products are very long. You're building products for 24 months, 36 months, long life cycles. So for them to test technology and adopt is going to take longer. Second, the moment they have adopted and it's not only me, right? Imagine that along with me there are other startups who are coming and talking to him, right? Please
Mm.
try this, sir. Why don't you try this? It will be good. Open space is there. Then you have build dots is there. Then there's somebody is coming purely on the design side. There's so many guys who are trying to venture into and crack. So his decision becomes difficult. So we wanted to make his decision easier, right? Especially on trying the product. And as I said, it will depend on the type of company or the stage where you are. If you have good investors who are backing you, you are able to do this. If you are
Yes.
completely bootstrapped, it's difficult. Then you are actually paying from your pocket. So yeah, so I do realize that if you are completely bootstrapped, it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, and I really like align because a lot of people in in the industry are oversaturated with work, like even getting working late hours and getting half an hour, so asking, so getting all the friction for them and jump into the interaction of product. So and so I was maybe coming from the sense okay, if you are in a stage where still discovering what to build, then
Hmm.
it might have some signal. But if you know the product, then remove all the friction. You want feedback and you want to improve the product. So money at that time might matter lesser. So
Absolutely. I mean, what would happen in that case is you need to find probably so within our own client's space. I mean, when you talk real estate, there will always be early adopters, and there
yes.
will always be people who will appreciate technology. So you need to get lucky to be able to, get connected with that one person, right?
Mhm.
And that's where a broader reach out will help. Groups, what let's say what Chaitanya created on C Tribe or what the AAC group, these are very good platforms, because anybody who is building something new, immediately you're able to reach out to people, and somebody might catch it and say, okay, I want to try it out. Now if it is a request which is coming from the client side, right, then you have a higher leverage of saying, sir, if you are piloting, it will be great if you can pay us so much as well. And such platforms, and within the industry, there will always be 5-10% people who are, more than interested, excited to start new things. And these are the people who actually bring breakthroughs. But platforms like what has been created right now, I didn't have C Tribe 2 years back, or else I would have had more leverage reaching out to people. But yes, definitely very, very helpful. Such groups very helpful.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of on the lines of doing better distribution access. We are looking for early adopters, and that
Yeah.
group accumulates all the people who are interested in trying out new products, so it makes easier to for the search as well. I mean, and Manish, what's next for so right now we are focusing on Indian market, and can
Yeah.
you tell us the product roadmap?
Yeah, so so Incas is both from a solution perspective, there is a hardware piece and then there is a software piece. Right? So the hardware piece, which is a combination of LiDAR camera, thermal camera, multispectral camera, all sensor fused. And right now, a person is actually collecting the data on a site, and then there is a complete cloud machine learning pipeline automating that and segmenting point cloud, creating a BIM, then milestones, defects, and deviations. Now we are so from a product and software lifecycle, the way we see this growing further is both on the both directions, right? So construction industry is design, planning, then contracting, and then you actually construct and then hand over and maintenance, right? That's sort of a complete life cycle. Right now we are in the 36 months period, but complete life cycle of the site which is constructed is actually maybe 50 years or 100 years. There is a lot more which is happening before and after as well. There are two pieces which we are building on, this year and next. These are the things which we'll be working on. Is one is to get everything autonomous onto a drone. We already have a drone which can lift the payload which we have, but we are trying to make it highly autonomous into a small form factor cage drone which can move on a site without any interference from anybody, so that the human uh, interference is completely taken out, and the scan can happen at any point of time, remotely as well, but designed for moving indoors and outdoors both. Let's say a drone moving through the lift shaft, going in, coming out, taking the scan, going all the small areas where you want to venture in, right? And collect data and then push it onto the cloud, and then we want to extend, actually, because towards the end of a project we end up making a complete digital twin. So, and a digital twin becomes very important, and it is an actual true digital twin because we have layered wise BIM, right, as we are building. We want to then use this product to help clients manage their whole project afterwards also, because they want to have, most of the commercial guys wants to have lower carbon footprint, net carbon neutral. I'm sure very soon government of India's policies will also, come towards this while they are constructing as well. So an actual managing the digital twin after completion also becomes very important for them. While we are doing both these things, we will be venturing into Middle East market. We're already started doing pilots. One of our clients, this is like Shobha, is already the biggest developer in Middle East. So even the real estate companies from India are already venturing out. So we are planning to venture into Middle East and also in the US. Next year would be US, but in the immediate future, we are going to venture into the Middle East market with the combination of these both product life cycles. So we see ourselves growing beyond just the construction and providing a complete, so the whatever digital data is actually generated becomes very useful for the later on for managing the project also, not just while it's getting constructed.
Yeah, the whole life cycle
Whole
approach.
life cycle.
It's amazing. And I'm I'm interested to know, like, so you were quite early in the AI, and like also your math and com science background makes me more excited. What was your reaction during, if you have watched the AlphaGo movie, and like you felt the AI, the possibilities with it, and then like AI views are like cyclical where there is hype, and then you saw the chat GPT and stuff, and how do you filter out the noise, hype, and navigate such cycle?
See, it's, I mean, when I watch a movie, I just want to watch a movie and enjoy. I don't put my hat of an engineer at that point of time. See, a lot of what we see in movies or whatever we are hearing, uh, a lot of that is noise, but definitely a lot of, and hidden among that noise is some ground truth. So
Mm.
sometimes it becomes very difficult to capture that. Okay, what is the truth and what is the noise? For a layman, it will become very difficult to be able to capture that, right? See, coming from mathematics and computing background, I understand that prediction as a tool is not new. I mean, you can. I mean, there were data scientists who were already predicting. We have a complete Indian Statistical Institute, which is more premium than IIT. Is very difficult to get into. They used to do pure statistical analysis, right? I mean, and tons of predictive analytics as well. Um, they were working with smaller data sets. What machine learning did was just work with much larger data sets. I mean, that's what's changing right now. We have capability to work with very large data sets, right? To a great extent, now we are understanding with GPTs coming in or with transformers. What changed is the ability to uh, understand the outcomes of consuming such large data sets.
Mhm.
What could actually be an outcome? These are something new things. I mean, these are transformers. Is, I would say, is, that the inflection point or the moment where things have started to change, and it will change in ways where which we were seeing in few sci-fi movies earlier on. So we are going to go ahead and see quite of that in our real life also, where we might be now imagine whatever intelligence you have. I mean, humanoids are also picking up, right? The way robots are coming in, I see a lot of these intelligence actually venturing into humanoids, and then humanoids becoming a very common household product. Now, that's what we started trying to build in Incus initially, where I said that you had a camera-based Eve drone. So we knew something like this would come in 2016, 17, but it was too early, because at that point people did not want cameras and somebody listening to them. But this will become a norm. Maybe in 5 years from now, you'll have a bot. You already have somebody who is a helping hand. It might start with let's say for older people as helping hands in home, because that becomes a very natural sort of a use case for a lot of societies which are actually becoming old and require tech to support. Technology is going to get the enabler. So I see this going towards that, but I also feel that it's still far away from just saying that humans are going to become redundant, right? There is going to be a lot of migration. Humans are going to keep doing more exciting work, I would say, rather than a lot of rudimentary, repetitive work. We might not be working 5 days a week also. We might just be working 2 or 3 days a week. That's much. I mean, we get more time to travel. We get more time to interact with our friends. So a lot of that will also happen. But definitely, I don't see some super intelligence being coming in and shutting down stuff or anything what you see in a lot of sci-fi movies coming to fruition anytime soon.
Yes. I read a quote regarding mathematician, and I want to share it and just want to know your thoughts. So, if you did, a mathematician is a person who can find analogies between theorems. A better mathematician is one who can see analogies between proofs, and the best mathematician can notice analogies between theories. One can imagine that the ultimate mathematician is one who can see analogies between analogies.
That's very well said, actually. Very well said. I don't know whose quote that is, but that's very well said.
Yeah, it's by Stephen Banach. Well, yeah,
No, they're very well said. And I would say that's the transition, which I have had from my early days in college till now. I think it's with age you get to that. I think the transition is exactly with age when you are, just maybe from first year till now, I would tell that has been my trajectory.
so, Manish, what would be like your piece of advice for people in 20s college who want to build skills that are valuable or be useful?
See, it's exciting times for people who want to learn, because there is just so much out there where you can just consume and learn so fast, right? You can be learning from the best professors anywhere in the world, and you're not limited to the college where you are. So I think this whole function earlier, where you had to go and go through a whole process of JEE, AIEEE, try to get into very good college. I don't see that should be the feature in today's student's life. What should be featuring is where he's learning from, and who are, I think, a lot of mentorship should be started by them. Let them start having mentors of people who are in the 24s or 25 age group. Attach yourself to them. You can leverage them, talk to them, and keep getting directions and keep learning what you like, because a lot of subjects what you learn in 4 or 5 years, 50% of it what you don't like, and out of the 50% what you like, you maybe excel in maybe 5% of it. So focus on that 5%. Focus on that 5% content, and you can go very deep, right?
Mm,
And in today's job market, nobody is caring about which college you come from,
yeah.
or where what has been everybody cares about what are you able to deliver, right? And because learning is so openly available, I would impress upon them and encourage them to go ahead and leverage that. Don't be scared to learn from anybody anywhere, and don't be scared to collaborate. I mean, if you have to write to a professor at a Max Planck Institute in Germany to collaborate on a project, write to him, call him
Mm,
up. Don't be scared. People are far more open than what we think Sometimes as students, we might feel that whether there will be a response or not. I don't think in today's world people are more than happy to collaborate, and they should also not be scared to fail. If there are ideas which they have, don't be scared to fail. Just don't get bothered about something not working, and a feedback. Okay, this was, there is absolutely nothing called a useful product or a useless product. It's just a learning when you are building that up.
Nice. It's amazing. Yeah, I also feel like learning with like getting more and more like YouTube to LLM, but that I think hunger to learn or motivation is getting scarce, and the perseverance skill that okay you can easily get. Also, the distraction is also widespread.
That's correct. That's correct. There is tons of distraction, but I would say, Mayur, distraction has always been there. If I talk to my father, he will say, okay, these were the distractions he had. If I look at, my phase, those were the times we were first exposed to, I don't know, you might not have even heard of Orkut. That was
Uh,
the first. So even before Facebook came, there was something else. So from a distraction perspective, people will always have distraction. But
mm,
people, I think, when you find something you love spending time on, generally it is going to be around something which you're learning. The only thing what you have, or the good thing now is that you can focus more on that and less on everything else, right? I mean, you don't like languages, you don't have to study three or four languages. Earlier, you had to have three languages in school. You had to have social science, geography, civics, history, everything. It depends on what you like, but now you can go so much deep with the
mm.
level of content which is there. And at any age, you can do it when you're 10, you can do it when you're 12. There is absolutely no limit to that.
So like Manish, like I understand, like again, there's so many things we have to do in the business to run it, and some are necessary, some are required. What are some things you do where you lose track of time, as like you get deeply involved and love?
When I'm actually working with my team on product development, the moment we are building something new, there is a new idea. That is the time we lose track of stuff. It just gets so exciting.
Nice. Okay, I'm gonna do a rapid fire to wrap up the interview. So
Sure.
less than 30 seconds. You can have to answer it very briefly. Who's your role model?
My father.
Yeah. Any book which made a big impact in your life?
Any book? Nothing in particular. I will read a lot of history, but no book in particular which I would say made an impact on my life.
Yes. Your favorite movie?
Favorite movie? Dil Chahta Hai.
Travel, a city in your travel bucket list.
Auckland.
3 words your friend would describe you.
Very annoying.
Uh, did I expect that? What are your top 3 hobbies?
I love to swim. I love to play badminton as well, and I love to travel.
Yes. Um, which theory in mathematics like is you love the most?
Pythagoras theorem, very basic, but I
Oh,
love that.
I see. And if you had unlimited time and energy, what's an ideal day in your life look like?
Unlimited time, energy, an ideal day would be, sitting with my friends after, and just having a chat with them, with my close friends. That's what would be ideal for me.
Okay. Manish, anything which we didn't cover in this interview and you'd like to end on that note?
No, I mean, Mayur, it was great. I think you covered a wide spectrum, and I feel like, there is a lot, which I talked about, I spoke about. There is a wide spectrum. Nothing in particular. Only to your listeners who are listening and would want to take away any point is, I always keep telling even my, employees that whatever they do, they should try to persevere in what they are doing. Perseverance is a quality which gets learned over a period of time, not to give up. If there are ideas, if there are plans which you have, go for it, and don't be scared to fail. It's easier said than done. Because there are multiple people who might say this, it's very difficult to implement this in your life. But what I've seen is that if you stick and keep trying, then definitely, you are going to come out with something which is going to be useful. So persevere with your ideas.
Sorry, I have one last question. What is something you suggest that uh, could be an initiative that could foster innovation in construction or the boost the ecosystem in general?
No, so I think one thing which could actually, so see, the groups which are formed right now are excellent. The AEC and the C-Flat group. I would love to see, more roundtables around it where stakeholders who are actually from the industry are just listening to ideas and giving their feedback there itself. So right now, let's say we are having a lot of, interaction, webinars, so on and so forth with an array of mixture. But let's say from this group, we are able to take out a panel of 15 members who are only from the industry, not from the startup space or the VC space. Either of them not required. Only from the industry, and they let there be a time when they're just listening to ideas. They need not even adopt, but let all 15 give a feedback immediately on the call to every single idea. What's good, what's not? Would they adopt it? If not, why will they not adopt it? That itself is going to help a lot of the guys. I mean, that's probably an idea for maybe Chaitanya and you to take up. If something like that is there, so even for us, when we have a new idea, something, a platform like that will be so easy for me to go ahead and test out. If I
Mhm.
have a bench of these 15 industry, and it could be online, right? And it could be three guys every month. You just present that idea, you get immediate feedback in 10 minutes time, and you know that where you stand.
That's a great idea. Like, I'll reach out to Chaitanya and discuss because it's
Yeah, so because see, let's say I was recently talking to a project manager in Shobha, and his input was, Manish, I want to know what's happening out there. Then there was somebody in Prestige, I want to know what's happening. So a lot of guys, like this, who are actually very open. We should identify them, who are actually open to new ideas and new thoughts and exposed to exploring. Make a panel of such people, and then it sort of, maybe for even startups, gives a platform for pilots. Maybe one of them will say, okay, no, good, it's a very good idea, please come and meet me. So that itself would be a great feedback, great boost for that idea. There could be ideas which are absolute crap, and they will die there itself before somebody burns a year of money, right?
yes,
So that would be great to have.
yeah, like, and I totally understand. Like, and people, we just need a medium because those are the champions in these big firms who
Correct.
are like be raw and honest. So
Correct.
yeah, better than a lot of VC feedback. So
Yes, yes. I mean, that's why I didn't put any VC name. Pure clients. Just get pure clients. And what we are asking, we are not asking them any money for this. And what they get to know is what's happening out there. That's
yes,
why they are going to be interested. What are the new ideas which people are working on? Immediately over a 30-minute call, they will be able to get that input.
true. Yeah, I agree. A different kind of pitching. Like
Different kind of pitching. It's not pitching for money, it's not pitching, it's just pitching to know that what I'm building, is it going to be useful? Do you feel any value in it, or it's something which you have seen does not work, or I should modify? That
yes,
itself for a promoter, it's so much valuable.
it's a constructive discussion. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. All right, Manish. It was lovely chatting with you. Thanks a lot
yeah, no,
for sharing
thanks.
your story. Uh, I look forward what the next phase of Inkers is, and it's amazing to see such products. So,
Thanks a lot, Mayur. It was lovely chatting with you.